Hello out there, it's Mo here again, and I'm making a new video about DJing, of course. This one here, strictly for beginners or people who have never touched a DJ in their life. Now, I'm not the best DJ out there, okay? I'm just in training myself. But one thing I didn't realize is everything DJs had. Okay, I just thought, again, if I said this in a previous video, that this was what DJing was. All I thought basically was there was a few scratches, and this as well. Basically a pitch bend to speed the song up, slow down, and scratching, as we all know the big stereotype. Whenever people come to my house, the first thing they do is this. And they get disappointed and think, why doesn't it sound good? Scratching is not that simple at all. And I'll make a different video about that because I had a request. Okay, first of all, there's a whole load of stuff to know about DJing. For one thing, the fader. Very important. If it's on this end, you're probably not going to hear anything from the other deck, which you shouldn't. If you do, there's something wrong with it. Here, you might feel something. Middle, it's balanced. And here, you're going to feel a lot. Now there's a mode under here, if I can just flick it with my finger. Throughout the whole part, it'll sound exactly the same except for right here at dead center. So, for example, if I switch back, that can be used for many different things. And there's a reverse way, so here I'll hear absolutely nothing, but if I switch it, it'll be on this side. You can play around with that. Basically, there's a backspin, as most people do know. Some units will have so you can adjust it so it goes, or so you can adjust how long it spins for. This doesn't have that. It's only the highest professional ones will have it, or a turntable with the counterweight. But honestly, this is good enough because you can just do that. And let's just say if it goes too far back, well, you can just fade it out. A lot of new things out there are just fancy toys that most times you don't need. Now, let's go for loops. This is one I definitely didn't know existed, alright? Basically, it marks one part of the song in, then out. Then it just keeps going across those two until you press loop out. And sometimes you can go re-loop, so then it'll go right back to that spot. Now, not all of them have it, but this one here's got a little knob, so you can cut a loop in half or make it bigger. So, for example, which is have fun playing with that, and you can do things with that. Like, for example, you can loop something, then backspin, and it'll just go to those parts. That's more a bit detailed. There'll be some more things about that a little later. Again, I prefer using effects. The type of DJing I practice are effects. So loops, Hotkeys, you name it. Now effects, I didn't even know they existed. Probably one of the most basic effects out there is filter. Filters out the song, basically. A lot of old stuff, mixers have filter built right onto it. A lot of new stuff has it. You'll have an effects section, the filter will be part of the effects, so just have filter right under the EQ. Let's talk about that though. There's like tons and tons of EQ buttons, but DJ mixers tend to have 3, sometimes 2. So, treble, mid, and bass. Treble can be called low, and bass can be called high sometimes. As we all know what this does. That's without the bass. Treble. Mid. But you can do some interesting things with that. You can go start with no treble or bass, and slowly bring them in. Which is interesting. Start time and stop time. Now, it should have it on these, but on Tractor they're not. But you watch from my other videos on Tractor for start time and stop time, you'll know how to do it yourself. So with the plus gauge. Sorry. And with pitch bend, with the key lock on, I'm sure what key lock even is, so that's normal. Now with the key lock, basically bending the pitch slows down and speeds up the song, and it'll sound different. With the key lock on, it'll sound the same. So yeah. Scratching, as we all know. Ugh, it's pretty bad. Some songs, again, you really gotta find songs for scratching. A lot of songs are not great. There's actual scratch samples as well. So, Tractor Pro comes with a few. They're not great, but Endless Tune, you know, for example. Sometimes you can even use an effect to make it sound better. So here's Flanger. That's with Flanger. No, without Flanger. With Flanger. Pretty interesting what you can do with those things. You gotta be really creative sometimes to be a DJ. Panning, which is interesting. A pan is for the speakers. So we get a better song for the pan. You probably wouldn't notice, but it jumps from one speaker to another. You'll see it on this, jumping from one to another. It's fun to play with, really. There's bleep in reverse, which for some reason do nothing. Bleep kind of, well, it'll bleep out a song basically. In reverse, it'll go backwards, which a lot of DJs have effects on that, so it's no problem. And I believe there's one more I still have to show you. Hotkeys. I'll post a link to show you what you can do with this thing, because this is some impressive stuff. Hotkeys will take a little bit of time and practice to get right, as everything else does. Now my mix deck doesn't have hotkeys on MIDI mode, which is a very big disappointment, because it says it has 3, but it doesn't use them. And again, don't deliver what you can't promise. Fundamental rule of business. Anyways, Tractor Control X1. Hotkeys. Basically, a hotkey jumps from one part of the song to the other. So there's, for example, there's beat juggling. That's a bad example. Beat juggling means you find the beat and then you just go back and forth like I was doing to make it sound kind of amazing. What you can do with this thing, right? I'll post up a link of cue point juggling. You can do some impressive stuff with that, that's for sure. But that's something else. I've tried a bit of juggling, it's interesting. Samples. I don't have this on MIDI mode, which is again disappointing. Samples will record a part of the song, you can play it back later. There's faders, there's a lot more than you think for scratching, so. Anyways, it's a beginner video. This is Mo. Thank you for your time.